We talked about templates, and so you can, and again, this template is the Activity Maker mobile template. So you get to choose a template, you turn a template into a project. Once you're in a project, there's various features that you need to learn about. So one of them is, this is a page, and right now you can see at the bottom, we're page 1 of 1. And we're able to generate new pages, and I'll just want to give you an orientation to the navigation. You're able to create new pages with this plus sign. So this happens to be a text page type, but that's a misleading thing because this can hold a lot, this can do a lot, and we'll get into that as the morning progresses. So we're able to add pages, we're able to remove pages. If you just hover over these things, when they're active, a little tooltip pops up that tells you what that little feature is. So I know that this adds pages because a little add a page tooltip comes up. So this is an HTML editor with some additions to it. One of the important first steps on a page is always provide an ID for your page. LodeStar supports branching. It supports the ability of you being able to gauge student performance and being able to branch, to differentiate instruction. The names of the pages is going to be so important because you're going to be able to later on branch to a page. So for example, if a student is doing really, really well, we might want them to go down one path. If they need some help in skill building, they might go down another path. And for us to identify those paths, it's really important to have page IDs. Here, what we're going to do is just do something simple like Introduction to Bloom's Taxonomy. This is just to be a title slide. And here what I'm going to do is just, I'm going to apply a head. So I'll do heading 1 or heading 2 and just center it. Just a very, very simple slide. Do you notice the icon over here on the left? Now, we're not going to change it, but all of our various page types are right here. Pages can do different things. For example, if you wanted to include a video, if you wanted to bring in a YouTube video, for example, you can, and you would just change the page type to video. It's really, really important to add a page first and then change its page type. A very, very common kind of beginner's mistake with LodeStar is for someone to do this. They'll create a title screen, and they'll say, oh, now I want a video. And they'll just simply change the page type to video before adding a page. Table of contents. If you want this particular page to be in the table of contents, then you would check that off. Resources. Resources are very powerful. If I wanted this page to be accessible, here's an example related to latent tuberculosis bacterial infection. As we progress through the content, the videos, the challenges, and so forth, the student is challenged with a clinical summary exercise. As they observe an interview between a public health nurse and the patient, they've got to take some notes and they got to do the charting correctly. So if they need to jog their memory as to what they're supposed to do, they click on this, and this is a resource. So this is a page that appears in the flow, but it can also be summoned up very quickly as a resource. The way that happens is you simply, if this page needs to be a resource, you check that off, and it'll create the button that you need for a student to be able to randomly access this. We don't need that for this page. And then later when we have embedded questions, sometimes you want to provide a question. You'll tell students that it's wrong, but they've got to go and research. They've got to look up a manual. They've got to do something. You're just simply not going to spoon feed them. The other things that I'll talk about very, very briefly are, if I ever have a question about what's this page for, I'll click on the question mark. So this just pops up this little bit of information so I understand the purpose of this page. Audio, if I wanted to add audio to this page, so that's an MP3 audio. Audio can play as soon as the page displays, or it can play as a result of someone starting the audio. So you can show the control, hide the control, autoplay or not autoplay. This one has to do with page level accessibility. So all pages are exposed to a screen reader. So the buttons, the ability to navigate back and forth, all of those are evident to a screen reader. The screen reader will know this is a button and what it's for. Sometimes you'll get into situations, maybe a technical illustration or something, where there's no easy way to make that page accessible. A crossword is an example. Crossword, if a student really worked at it, they could navigate the crossword, but it's pretty clumsy for a student with a screen reader. For the student using JAWS, for example, it'll announce to them that there's a page-level accessible version. They click on that and they'll get alternative content here that might be better formatted for a screen reader. A description of the technical illustration versus the technical illustration. With illustrations, with images and so forth, you can add alt tags. The blind student, in this case, will have 3 opportunities. One is they can see the whole project as just a document. And if you pay attention to accessibility and, for example, have headings, heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, that exposes the structure of the document, it'll be easy for a student to navigate that using a screen reader. So they can see the whole project. Or they could be navigating the project like everyone else, but if there's a particular tricky page, they can click on the page level accessible version. Now, the critical part in all of this is, in order to take advantage of this, if it's required, take the time to put in some alternative text. As long as you provide a description for your images, they don't have to go to an accessible version. The whole thing is accessible. Sometimes you'll get into a tricky area where this is still going to be really clumsy for a student with a screen reader. Then you can create page-level content that's accessible, and the way they know it is the screen reader announces the availability of this button. And then they're able to toggle. They're able to very, very easily move out of that and continue with the content. What we want to do now is add a page and provide some content. So I'll click on Add a Page, and what LodeStar does is creates a page, a second page, of the same page type as the page type before. What you need to do is provide some content. So just a short paragraph. Maybe give it a heading level 2, and then a short description of this. A learner with a screen reader will navigate a document. If they're in the HTML mode, they'll go 1, 1, 1, 1, and those are heading levels 1, 1, 1, 1. Then they'll go 2, heading level 2. And so they're able to navigate very, very quickly a document by just using numbers. So when you take the time to actually style something with heading level 1, heading level 2, not only does it look better, but it's accessible. We highly recommend basic fonts like Arial, because these are system fonts, and we want to ensure that the learner has these fonts. So like here, if I switch off to some crazy font like Algerian and then switch back to Arial, it kind of makes it behave then. It's giving it that instruction. So it would behave anyway when you presented it, because it would follow a style sheet. Right now it's not following a style sheet. So if you have a font that you say, no, that's not really the font that I want, just select something and then bring it back to Arial. And Arial is a nice font because it's consistent across different devices like Macs and PCs and so forth. So all of this follows what's called a cascading style sheet, a CSS. So when you actually present this, it's following that style sheet. If you wanted this to conform to a style, we would just add that to your template. And the other thing, well, we won't go into it, but there are layouts and themes and so forth, and we could create a specific theme that has all of the styles and all the stuff in it. Like we could create a specific layout and theme, and it'll control everything the way you want it if you want uniformity. Yeah, that's all built into this.